Welcome to Hall of Fame event number 10 in the tribe. We've got a little panel interview here. Why don't I start with Michael, if the three of you just want to briefly introduce yourselves. You already have once today, but just for recording purposes, tell us who you are, any background info, maybe, and how long you've been in the tribe, and then I'll ask you more questions. So, Michael.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm Michael Huerta. I live up the hill in Park City, Utah, but relatively new to being in Utah full time. Spent 26 years in Washington, D.C., both in public and private sector. My most recent job in the federal government was I was the head of the Federal Aviation Administration, and the agency is just a great and a very important part of our transportation system. Now I do board work and spend a lot of time on the road. I joined the tribe just over a year ago, and it's really been a great experience for me. I really like the structure, really like the accountability, and all the great tips that go with it.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm also Michael Newton, local here in the Salt Lake City area, 43. Husband, dad of 3, oldest just graduated high school, getting ready to head off to college, all that fun stuff. I joined the tribe just over a year ago. We had returned from a family trip, and I've had a very cyclical journey with weight, always been in the gym and those sorts of things, but the body fat has been very cyclical. And hit a new PR on the wrong side after getting back from that trip. And I had, of course, been stalking Tyson on LinkedIn for a long time. And finally just tried to be honest with myself and said, okay, you keep saying that you're doing this just fine on your own, and yet objectively you're going in the wrong direction. So reached out and got started, and it's been a great journey.
Thank you.
I'm an attorney here.
Awesome. Robert.
Robert Fleming. I'm 57 years old, live in Salem, Utah. And I'm a high school principal here in Utah, and enjoyed the last 31 years of an education career. So similar, I'm sure we'll detail more about our story. Have 3 children, 4 grandchildren.
Congrats. Awesome. You guys were sort of hinting at this, but feel free, let's just keep kind of the same order if that's okay with you. Think back to what was going on in your life just prior to joining the tribe, and maybe just tell us a little bit more about what was going on and your why. Michael, you sort of did that, but if you guys just want to give some details, that's helpful context.
Well, what was going on, and probably the impetus for me, is something I do not recommend for everybody else. I'm one of these guys that is very driven by the work that I do. My job is kind of the center of what I do, and I've got a wonderful wife, a wonderful son, and family is incredibly important. But a lot of what defines how I allocate my time is the jobs that I've had over the years. Well, a couple of years ago, I had a significant health challenge, and fortunately, it ended up in the right place. I have a family history of Parkinson's on both sides of my family. And a few years back, I had one of those executive physicals where they identified that I had a lot of the markers down the road for heart disease developing in me, very high calcium score and all of that. And so I was just getting some routine testing over at the U, and it was one of those things where an anomaly was identified, and that led to more testing. And my cardiologist, before I had the last test, which is a catheterization where they send a camera into to look at your arteries, my cardiologist said, okay, 1 of 3 outcomes. We will see something, but we'll just put you on a more aggressive monitoring scheme. Option 2, we'll see some moderate blockage. We can fix it right then with stents. You'll go home, and a couple of days you'll be fine. Option 3, we will have a conversation. I woke up after the test and we had the conversation right then. They admitted me to the hospital and 2 days later, 6 graft bypass. I'd never heard of 6 grams. But cardiologist humor, the surgeon said to me, she said, well, okay, 2 of them probably wouldn't have merited medical intervention, but hey, I was in the neighborhood. And, had this great vein to work with. And so let's just clean it all out. And as one of my pilot buddies told me, I walked out of this with a 0-time airframe and feeling great. So, but for me, this was, okay, I've got to get, make health a priority. And because for me, going to the gym was, I did it pretty regularly, but it was sporadic. There was never a plan associated with it or anything like that. The second thing was with all the travel and work, I was not hugely overweight, but was definitely not eating well and really not giving any thought to it. It was just whatever was around, whatever tasted good, whatever I had access to, and and that sort of thing that was kind of driving that. So fast forward to where I am now, I'm back at my college weight. For me, that was a drop of about 15 pounds. So like I said, I wasn't really overweight. I'm probably, Chris will agree, and I'm probably overly obsessive about tracking. When MyFitnessPal says you've hit a record in terms of number of consecutive days tracked, I guess, that's something that I'm doing right. But I really like the structure, really like the accountability, but also the coaching. Here are things you can work on. And, the whole philosophy of, when I first got in the tribe, this all felt very overwhelming. But, hearing the advice from Tyson, from Chris, okay, this week, let's work on this one thing. And everything else, we can kind of build around it, but let's just focus on one thing at a time. And it's certainly helped me build some very good habits. And I think for me, it's really resulted in some significant changes in my life.
Thank you for sharing. Michael, you mentioned the scale going in the wrong direction and that being an impetus and LinkedIn, et cetera. Do you mind just maybe expanding on just prior to the tribe joining and what prompted you to go a different direction?
Yeah, I think back to it was 2024. My wife and I were on a trip and I was feeling awesome. It was in a great place. A couple months later, I got asked to do some volunteer ecclesiastical responsibilities that took 30 hours a week. And I, over about 18 months, gained 20 something pounds and of not good weight. And so clearly this was going the wrong direction. I felt pretty overwhelmed because between family, church, and work, just didn't have time and just felt like I didn't have the bandwidth to focus on myself. So we got back from that trip, weighed in and said, okay, let me reach out to this guy and see what he says. And the things that struck me and ended up being true through the process were I needed accountability. Clearly, I thought I could do it on my own. I wasn't. And then I thought I had been eating healthy. And I actually hadn't been, and had been eating more calories than I thought. And so the focus on I was going to say diet, but that is maybe the wrong word, but focus on eating and macros and the right calories helped a lot. So the accountability and the eating, and I had always been in the gym, but was still going the wrong direction. So it was kind of continuing the stuff in the gym, but then getting locked in on the accountability side and the healthy eating side, and just kind of creating new habits really made a big difference. So
thank you. Robert.
Yeah, it's been fun to reflect on this. When Tyson said, we're going to recognize you as a Hall of Famer, it's like, wow. And then I started thinking, I better think about why I did this in the first place. So I I can go back 3.5 years ago and we had a visit from DCFS and we were given one of our grandchildren to raise. And like being 54 at the time and thinking about, okay, so this child is going to be, when he graduates from high school, I'm going to be 72. And I wasn't in great health at the time. As a high school principal, my schedule was very busy. I'm gone a lot. It's going to put an extra load on my wife. I had tried lots of different things over the years. I told Keenan I was a PE teacher at one point, teaching strength training to junior high schoolers. And at that point I was in better condition, but when I became an administrator, that all that went out the window, right? And your life just changes and some of your priorities change. I've been 230 to 250 most of my adult life. I ran a marathon in 2014 because I kind of got on a train with some of the other people in the school that were doing that. And I probably was down to about 220, but not muscle lean, right? I was running a lot, and so but I was still eating a ton and wasn't focusing on the right things. So when after the shock of some of that going through and our life has stabilized somewhat, a year ago, a little over a year ago, I was getting these emails. No, not more they came from, but Tyson's name at the bottom and can help you in some of these areas. And I finally just told my wife, I think I'm going to just do something to help me because I want to be healthy the rest of my life. I don't want to continue going through joint problems and cholesterol problems and heart problems. I've been told that last spring as well that I need a hip replacement. And I said, is it going to help if I lose weight? He says, well, it might help a little bit. You'll probably still need it eventually, but it will help. Because I was literally walking down the halls of the school and people were saying, boy, it looks like you're really in a lot of pain. And I was. And I could barely get around school. I weighed about 240 at the time. So I called Tyson. He connected me with Keenan. And I was actually a little bit skeptical that I was going to be able to do this, right? Keenan says, we're going to put you out 1,500 calories a day. 1,500 calories a day? What the heck is that? and we're going to do this and we're tracking everything you eat. I had tried that before. I actually started MyFitnessPal in 2012. It has me back clear to there. And I was 250 at that time. I remember when I started it and I thought if I ate, 2,500 calories, that was good, right? So I got on the program, but that was my motivation, was to be healthy for life, right? For my kids, for my grandkids. I knew that I needed that and I wanted that, and that was my motivation. And we'll probably talk about results, but over the year, I've lost 55 pounds and gone from like 32% body fat now to about 17. I've got more to go, right? And I'm still in the tribe and I'm still working on it. And we're going to keep going. But it's been transformational. People that I didn't see for a year are like, I don't even recognize you. You're just a different person. I'm happier, more confident, healthier. Just have a lot of the things back that I didn't know that I had lost. But I had lost a step, and I'm able to do a lot more with my kids and grandkids and just feel good about it. The hip probably is going to be replaced sometime in the next year, but it doesn't bother me so much anymore. So it's just been a huge change for me.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, let's recap how long you've been in the tribe. And you're not bragging here, it's just telling your story. So let's think about scale results, but perhaps even more significant, let's share non-scale things. So we're talking about better mobility with hips. We're talking about managing stress with multiple leadership roles. We're talking about health conditions, right? So going back to you, Michael, just time in the tribe and just celebrating both scale and non-scale victories to talk about that.
So just over a year for me. It's been, I'm right at 150 pounds, which was the goal weight that I had set, and that was my weight all through college. Obviously, I'm not a big guy, but and I would still maybe like to drop it a little bit down from there to get the body fat percentage down. Similar reaction, people see me, what happened, it's noticeable. I definitely have a lot more energy. It was interesting. One of the things that doctors were asking me about is, well, were you experiencing symptoms that indicated, cardiac problems? And look, I live my driveway is at 7,000 feet. I've got a big dog, taken out for a walk several times a day, come back feeling a little bit winded. And I was just attributing it to, okay, I'm 70, I will be 70 in November. And, I attribute it, old guy living at altitude with a big dog, of course you're going to feel a little bit winded when you come back, from something like that. But, so I think that it's definitely made a difference in that regard, that I feel like I have a lot more energy. I also, I had my annual physical just a couple of months ago, and the numbers were just great. In terms of, blood pressure and cholesterol and all of that kind of stuff. And so it's, I think it is helped out in terms of just, maintaining a much better balance, in life, and not being as reliant on, whether it's cholesterol meds, blood pressure meds, and, all of that kind of stuff. I still take both, but like on the blood pressure side, it's been dialed way down. And so it's, I'm definitely, feeling much, much better overall. And so now I had when the first time we got together with Nathan's group here in Salt Lake City, that was the first time everyone was talking about DEXA scans. And so I had one of those done, and it was great because went in, the technician did the whole thing. We sat down, went through the report, and he began with just how positive the results were. And of course, that's the big qualifier for your age. But overall, I think that it was just a really positive baseline. And I feel that, I went to, my high school 50th year reunion a couple of years ago, and it was kind of interesting seeing classmates, with walkers, or, those that unfortunately passed on, and just recognizing that, kind of making some choices here, that are setting me up very well.
Thank you.
To your earlier comments about the 6 bypasses, former University of Utah basketball coach Rick Majerus had 7. And he said that it was 1 for each major pre group. Maybe not a good example.
I always thought the max was 4. But
okay, so I'm 43, an attorney, busy career, busy life. I'm not the tallest guy. I'm only like 5'8". When I got back from that trip, clocked in at 202, so hit over 200 for the first time. I was somewhere around 25% body fat. In a few milestones that I noticed. So I started in June. Just 6-7 weeks after starting, took a group of teenage boys up to Kings Peak, which is the highest point in Utah, and backpacked 35 miles or so round trip up to 13,500 feet. And when at that point, when I got home from that, I was down 27 pounds. And when you have dropped 27 pounds, putting a pack on is actually not that big of a deal. And it just felt like I was walking up a mountain. And it was amazing, just felt amazing. So got down to 175, which was 11% body fat, in December of last year. I've actually put back on 14 pounds. I'm at 189 now. but the DEXA, so the body, it's been a changing body composition from
Yeah.
where it was before. So kind of putting back on muscle after doing kind of cutting those calories. I also panicked at the 1500. That one. You get used to it. Some of the advantages I've seen, some of the benefits actually go way outside of just weight loss. Tyson talks a lot about becoming. I've seen that emphasis more in other areas of my life. I've seen the benefits of coaching. So one of the challenges I've had throughout life is just mental health. And seeing the results of doing this physically, I was like, okay, well, shouldn't I also be working with somebody mentally? And so started engaging more on the therapy side, those sorts of things, and kind of proactively working on that area of health as well. Another principle that's been really helpful for me is I'm the president of the Perfectionist Club. And it's really helped on that front. Actually, I was concerned that it would go the other way, in that perfectionism would drive me mad in this journey.
Yeah.
But it's actually helped me see I don't have to be perfect. I can be imperfect and still have results. And that's helped in other areas of life too, of being able to have some more grace and just know that if I'm going directionally the right way, and 80 something% of the time on the right trajectory, that there's going to be results, and I don't have to worry about doing everything just so. So that's been a great benefit to me outside of even just the physical health.
And that whole point, that whole imperfect action thing is such an important principle. Because I think that it's so easy to get discouraged if you find yourself in the crummy hotel gym where you can't do the full workout, and hey, I'm just going to take a pass, or why bother? But the importance of taking some action, even though it's not ideal, is I think a really, really important drive principle.
Yeah,
Thank you.
100%. Traveling is a big part of my life as well, and those hotel gyms are usually not great. But just like finding, HIIT workouts with lightweight using AI to create these or something has been really beneficial. And again, just having that consistency has really helped as well. The other aspect I share about this is my wife and I have been doing the journey together, which makes it a lot easier when you're aligned. And together you're trying to hit certain macros, or that you're both kind of in unison on this. We're trying to eat this certain way. It's really made a difference in that journey too.
Excellent. In a minute, we'll have you guys talk about obstacles you're hinting at travel and all or nothing thinking some of that. We'll come back to that, but yeah, Robert's scale and non-scale victories.
Yeah, so like I said, when I started, I was 240 with Keenan, and I'm now 185 and holding that for the last couple months. My business was 195. I thought, wow, if I get under 200, that'd be amazing. But when I got to 195, it was about just about 7-month mark is when I got to the 195 where I thought I wanted to be. And I'm like, I don't think this is where I want to be. I think I can continue to go down that path, and I did. And I told my wife, I said, I think 185 might be good. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I think I'm at a point now that I need to start building more muscle and things, and I want to do that. But and could even lose more fat, because I think at the 17% body fat probably isn't right to be carrying a little bit too much. But it's when I as a school principal, I have 140 employees at my high school. I have 1,600 students, and when I came back to school, so like I said, I started right in school, and by the time school started again, I had lost about 30 pounds at that point. And I came back to school, everybody, and I grew a beard. I've never had a beard, and I thought every man has to try a beard once. So I thought, I'm changing one thing, I might as well change another thing. Grew this beard, and I came back, and everybody's like, "You're a completely different person." I mean, I think I had more energy, just more endurance. I think I was happier. I believe I was happier. you know, the mental health thing, you're just in a better place. People do kind of see you as someone that did something important for their health, right? And so they look up to you a little bit as an example. People are asking me about it. So you get a chance to talk about it a little bit. I just think it just helped me to be more of a leader in that organization. I think the students saw me that way because they didn't see me as a fat old man anymore. Maybe I could run around with them a little bit more, shoot some baskets with them, and be a little bit more on their level, even though they're, you know, 17 years old or whatever. They see you as someone that could, you know, is trying to do those things. And so I think it just made a difference for me that way, and in my family, of course, to just be able to just be that person for the grandkids, for the kids, for the wife, you know. During that year, you know, we talk about some things. I mean, I wrote down all the things that happened. So in that, sorry, not the year, the 6 months. During that 6 months from May to November, I went on an Alaskan cruise with my wife's parents. Talk about a killer. We had a week-long family reunion. I had a work conference that was 4 days long. I went to Arizona for a funeral trip. We went to Georgia for a football game with my sons and son-in-laws. We did Halloween, we went to Thanksgiving in Arizona, and that's what I wrote down here. Somehow, during all that, I was able to still take imperfect action, which it was, and apply the principles and still come out successful. What I feel was successful in those 6 months. And then the 6 months since, you know, 25 more came off. So it's just amazing to me that all those years of what I thought was maybe imperfect action, it was really imperfect. It was probably more inaction, because I'm like Michael, whatever was available, I was eating. You know, I wasn't watching. I was trying to exercise, but not really. And like having some accountability, having someone to coach you, having a more regular tracking device, and then just this group of support where we're all trying to do this stuff and we're connecting on a regular basis. Just made a huge difference in my life.
Thank you. We have about 15 minutes left. I have two more quick questions to ask you, and then want to open it up to the others in this room. Michael, just to embarrass you for a second. One of the questions we get asked all the time for people who are exploring the tribe, they say, I travel constantly, and that is an Achilles heel for me. And our response to that we like to say is, we work with guys like you all the time, and many have been able to successfully navigate travel in the tribe. And one of the reasons why I wanted to nominate you specifically is I can't remember a week when you haven't traveled, at least like multiple times in a given week. And as you just indicate, there's all three of you have traveled a lot. So where I'm going with that is, think about your journey, this health journey, and just challenges you've had to face that are real challenges, and maybe even how you've navigated that.
Well, you know, travel is a big one, because, you know, it's kind of, you know, as I mentioned, I do a lot of board work. And so that means there's the board dinner, you know, the night before the meeting. And this is a big gathering of everyone. It's generally at a very nice place, very nice food, and all. And it's, you know, it serves an important business purpose. And so you've just got to be really thoughtful about, yes, there's going to be all this stuff that's out there, but, you know, kind of thinking about it, how do you plan for it? You know, in terms of, you don't have to sit through every course of what's going to be an elaborate meal. And nobody's going to say, it's not being impolite. It's just kind of being thoughtful about it and not adopting the mindset, this is where I am, and so I'm just all in. But stepping back from it a little bit, okay, this is where I am. Now, how do I fit this into what my program is like for the week? And it's just a, you know, function of being more thoughtful I also carry with me, a whole lot of protein bars, to get away from the snacking, whatever might be sitting in the break room, or at the hotel, where I'm at. If I want something, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a protein bar, as opposed to that bag of chips that they might offer you, which are going to taste really good, but are probably the worst thing that you can be filling up on, when you're doing something like that. And then finding the time to fit into the gym or whatever might be there. I mean, Chris has worked with me on developing a travel workout that you can do basically anywhere that they've got dumbbells, and you can knock out the whole thing in less than a half hour. And I think that's been, and even if I don't have that half hour to go down to the gym, I mean, doing several sets of push-ups and crunches in the hotel room, it's just something that I'm pretty diligent about just fitting in. And so it goes back to being intentional and recognizing it's not going to be perfect, but the most important thing is to do something, that will help you to stay on track and to continue to achieve your goals.
Well said. Thank you.
So obstacles.
Yep.
Definitely travel. Especially with work, as you mentioned, I'm at those sending. I'm not on the board. I'm the guy trying to keep you happy at those dinners.
You're the one planning the menu.
Yeah, which actually helps. Some more control over it, but definitely travel both with work and personal. And it's just all it took was being intentional about it. And hey, we're gonna pack. It's funny now, the biggest thing that I have to remember to pack are gallon-sized Ziploc baggies so that the protein powders and those things don't explode in the suitcase. Because we're traveling with those things and just finding, having those sources with us. The other interesting thing that's changed on travel, wife and I were in Maui and just sitting on the beach, just relaxing. But I was like, oh, I want to make fitness part of my trip. And I was like, oh, this is the gym that The Rock goes to in Maui. That would be cool. So I got a week pass, and I was just I thought it was so cool. But it was just part of the vacation. It was just early in the morning, I'd get up, drive down the road to that, and it just kind of becomes part of who you are. I've mentioned mental health. That was a big challenge for me, especially last year. I had an episode I was not expecting. If I was not following these principles, they gave me something to hold on to. Actually, some consistency I could hold on to when the rest of life was crazy. But I would have gained 20 pounds easy. I remember I was working with Keenan, and I was not losing any weight. I was totally plateaued, and I was on all these meds, and it was making me gain water weight, and it was all over the place. It was really weird. And then I got a DEXA scan. I was pretty discouraged. I was like, gosh, I'm making zero progress. This is not working. And the DEXA scan showed over those 3 months where I hadn't lost any weight that I'd actually dropped 7 pounds of fat and gained 7 pounds of muscle. So I was like, oh, it works. Okay, great. So anyway, it's given me, but again, it also, those principles help me to see I should go address this part of my health too. And got in a much better place there. Another thing I thought about, another one that would get me would be just family dinners. I love my mother's cooking. I will always gain 5 pounds because I can't stop, probably. But just the principles of the tribe. So Thanksgiving, I was super nervous about Thanksgiving. And then Keenan and Chris are posting polos, and they're like, all right, guys, here's your strategy. Go have fun and enjoy Thanksgiving. And I was like, oh, okay, I can enjoy this. Here are some things you could do leading up to it that will set you up for success. And maybe this is a slight tweak to the meal, but I still ate all the stuff, had all the pie, and lost weight that week. So just having those little tips really helped to overcome those obstacles.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely consistency. A high school is full of pizza and donuts. That's the problem. That's what kids like to eat. That's what we feed the kids. But so you have to be careful. But it is, you just learn, right? That's the nice thing about this is tracking everything that you eat. I know how many calories are in every food out there, right? So I know what I can eat. And so I know that if I did decide, you know what, I'm gonna have a piece of pizza today, but then I pair it with, I don't eat 3 pieces of pizza or 4 like I used to. And maybe I'll eat one with the group and then I eat some stuff that I brought some vegetables and some protein and things. And so I can kind of balance things a little bit that way. So that it's the consistency, the balance, preparation. I always pack my lunch and things the day before. It's interesting that intermittent fasting wasn't a thing that I did for first few months. I just couldn't bring myself to skip that most important meal of the day, right? And so I would eat protein for breakfast, but now that I've done the intermittent fasting, I really like it. I like what it does in the morning for me, and it does energize me. And I don't get hungry. That's been the crazy thing about this is I haven't gotten hungry because of the prioritizing protein. And that's what I was going to say. If you prioritize the protein and you choose the vegetables rather than some of the other sides that are out there, that's what's led to my success is just trying, even in Thanksgiving or travel, things like that. There's always the vegetable side of the plate besides the other part. And it's okay to skip some things and miss out on some things because it's not really missing out, right? You're actually doing yourself a favor by skipping some things. No, it's I don't travel a ton for work. I mean, we do a lot of vacationing, but especially when this time of year.
Pizza and donuts all around.
Pizza and donuts are all over the place in school.
Yeah.
I was at our
Yeah.
office this week. Day 1 was Old Stone on site and day 2 was the snow cone, like the snow cone. Just skip it.
Have you guys seen the meme with the, no, sorry,
Go, that's okay.
seen the meme where the guy is like introduced to American cuisine? He's like, they start with pizza, then they move to barbecue and street tacos, and then somebody introduces you to biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I feel like my final question was going to be just to think about key insights, lesson learned, but I actually feel you guys have been teaching and sharing that beautifully throughout. So thank you for your generosity. With the last couple minutes we have, why don't I just open it up if any of you guys have a pressing question to run by, open forum for the next 5 minutes or so. And if not, I will ask you to give parting thoughts, but let's see what questions we have.
There's a quote from Bill Phillips from the book Body for Life that I've never forgotten. It says, fitness doesn't just change the way that you look, it changes the way that you see. How are you seeing differently?
It's interesting for me. I've mentioned I've always been in the gym. I've always been trying to be fit. What's actually changed, the fitness part was just being more honest with myself and having more of that integrity with myself is what's the biggest thing that I think has changed. When I'm putting that food in, I'm like, okay, I'm being honest with myself because that's really who it's between. Yes, there's a coach and that helps, but that has translated to many, many other areas of life. I'd say there's a confidence that comes with it too, and people notice that. You start to get a reputation. At work, I'm now the guy. Whenever I do like HIIT or cardio, I have like this Karate Kid bandana I've got on, and I've been known as the CEO's like, oh, Daniel-san, like, you know, you just get a reputation, and it actually helps. So.
He also has a reputation with the young men in our neighborhood who tried to beat him, and they have yet to beat him.
We do lots of push-up competitions with our teenage boys and undefeated.
Yeah.
It's a great record.
They're skiing.
Yeah, I think in every aspect of your life, you just become more focused, you know, this idea of being intentional and consistent. You know, Dyson talks about it all the time, this permeates every part of our lives and can be applied so many other ways. And we do apply to other places, and now we apply it to our health, and it makes a big difference. But I can see now that I want to be better in every aspect of my life. You know, when you get better in one, it kind of like, yeah, I need to focus more here too. And so that idea of that, I guess the discipline, some of it that comes with being intentional and being successful, does help you see other parts of your life more clearly.
For me, it's like the cause and effect, you know, and kind of having a much better understanding. I've always felt fortunate that, you know, hey, I think I'm in great shape. You know, I've always biked, I've always, you know, been pretty active and all. But it's, you know, kind of the understanding that there are specific things that you need to do, particularly a guy like me as you get older. And, you know, you don't want to fall into that trap of just being less active and then not there for people that really matter in your life. So it's kind of seeing the choices that you make and the impact they have on your life.
Thank you for sharing. Before we give these guys a round of applause, one of our tribe members from a few years ago made and ordered these special coins that we only give to Hall of Fame members. And I'm going to give that to you when we end here. But one of the sayings on it says, "Remember why you started." And that's one of the messages that we derive inspiration from each of you. Is all of us had a starting point, and it's going to continue to be a journey. And if we can remember why we started this and what we're doing it for, we end up blessing our own life and those around us. So if we can give these guys a round of applause, and that'll put this session in the books.